This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's newscast on Kaieteur Radio for November 30th, 2020. I am Kevin Smith. Before we get to the news in detail, let's get to today's front page comment of the Kaieteur News. We must renegotiate. All Guyana knows that goat bite we, but it can't be so bad. Goat can't bite Guyanese political leaders from both major parties so cripplingly that they do not understand the full meaning of the word renegotiate. As we reported on Sunday, this is what Exxon and Total are doing with natural gas in Mozambique and with that country's political leaders. Surely, leading PPP and APNU politicians cannot be so content with our oil contracts that there is complacency to the point of indifference and impotence in renegotiating some of the provisions which so outlandishly favor the oil companies. We cannot afford to be comfortable with bowing before these companies so that they can have their way with us and ravage our people and their prospects. PPP leaders must push for renegotiation. APNU leaders must support renegotiation, and both parties and their leaders must be determined to overcome every obstacle which the oil companies will erect. Goat cannot bite we so bad that we no longer experience pain. And now for the news in detail. Guyana should properly assess its demand for electricity before it signs off on any gas-to-shore deal that forces it to accept an oversupply of gas and leave the energy sector financially unsustainable. This advice is coming from the Institute of the Americas. The Institute said that while there are significant reliability problems when it comes to electricity in Guyana, taking too much gas at a time would likely result in oversupply of the nation's 750,000 people. The Institute saw it pertinent to weigh in after seeing that Ghana signed a power purchase agreement to bring its gas to shore, and its failure to properly assess its energy needs at the right time has left the African nation struggling to find uses for the gas it is paying hundreds of millions of dollars for. Meanwhile, the government of Guyana must take the necessary steps to put a stop to those miners and mining companies that are causing irreparable damage to the environment. This is the well-intended advice offered by former EPA head Dr. Vincent Adams. With this damage, the former EPA head highlighted that it is almost impossible for the EPA to attempt to clean up the damage. Instead, steps must be taken to stop miners from creating that damage. Let's tell you now that when one hears the term local content, what should immediately come to mind is a situation whereby local individuals and companies are given first preference to supply goods and services to Guyana's growing oil and gas sector. While this is so, companies like ExxonMobil have not always looked at locals for the supply of simple goods like bottled water. However, the days of oil companies outsourcing supplies that can be found right here in the country are over. As according to Guyana's Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdio, the government will not be tolerating this occurrence, as first preference should always go to Guyanese. Let's tell you now that given its handling of critical matters pertaining to the oil industry, former presidential advisor on petroleum, Dr. Jan Mangal, is not convinced that the PPPC will move away from its record of zero transparency and white elephant projects. In response to questions on how the PPPC is managing the petroleum industry, Mangal criticized the ruling party for failing to maximize the country's share of revenue from the infamous Stabroek Block deal. He noted that the administration could have increased the nation's share, which is currently a 50% split of profit oil and a 2% royalty, by using the approval of the Field Development Plan for the Kaieteur project as its bargaining chip. Instead, Dr. Mangal said the Kaieteur project approval was rushed. And coming from Reuters, Ghana is imposing terms and conditions for Italian major Eni and Ghanaian operator Springfield E&P to combine their adjacent oil and gas fields after the parties failed to reach an agreement. This is according to a letter from the Energy Ministry. In other news, a pedal cyclist who was making his way to work along the number 11 public road, East Coast Berbice, was on Sunday struck down by a van that was reportedly speeding. Ganesh Ramlakan, a sluice operator and father of 3, was pronounced dead at the Georgetown Public Hospital, hours after he was rushed there and was expected to undergo emergency surgery. And now let's tell you, a 31-year-old from Region 10 woman who succumbed to the novel coronavirus yesterday was recorded as Guyana's 151st COVID-19 death. This was reported by the Ministry of Health, who said that the woman died while receiving treatment at a medical facility. Additionally, 30 new COVID-19 cases were recorded today. This was presented also by the Health Ministry's daily dashboard update, which also says that 3 persons are in the COVID-19 ICU. And that brings us to the end of this evening's newscast. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening. Coming up at exactly 19 hours 20 or 7:20 p.m. is the Glenn Lal Show. Tell it like it is. Good evening.